Welcome back to the Artefactors Union. I'm your host and foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, and that is the cord to my lamp. Anyways, today we are assembling the Titania Core box for the Neverborn faction. This is the core box for Titania the Master, the Fey keyword, and it is a bit of a doozy. But some very, very gorgeous models, so I'm not going to complain too much. Box contains 6 minis: Titania the Master, the Gorar, this snake holding this egg. Aeslin is my best guess on how to pronounce the name. Please correct me. I love getting the pronunciation right on these things. And 3 Autumn Knights, 1 here, 2 here, and is down to 3rd on the edge. Alright, that's our artwork. Renders on the back. You can start to see why it might be a slightly difficult build. I don't think Titania is going to give us too much trouble, but Aeslin is just lots of little tiny branches and stuff. Gorar probably going to be simple, and the Autumn Knights also going to be slightly difficult with just how detailed their armor is. But let's make sure that it is going to be as difficult as I think it is. Let's look at these sprues. Here is what we got. We've got Titania here, being just a few bits, not bad. Gorar as well, nice chunky snake. And then the Pain Train. Aeslin up here with lots of tiny spindly bits. 2 of our Autumn Knights, whip one, the sword one, and then the spear one here, all with a healthy chunk of bits. So, I might as well get started. Let's look at the instructions for Titania first, and then get started on her assembly order. Alright, for Titania, we will grab the body, like we almost always do. Go ahead and do her other leg as well. The left arm, the right arm we will combine with the magical effect first, and then add that on to her shoulder. Back for skirt will be... we could probably do that after the leg. So anyways, and then we'll do the wing. So, sorry, order, we'll do body, leg, skirt, left arm, combine right and magic, add that to her body, and then right wing, left wing? Sure. Alright, we have 1 undead Queen of the Fae. Let's add her missing leg first. Okay, kind of awkward placement because you got to do it in between this leg and the peg. And it looks bad, but it's going to be immediately covered up by the skirt bit, which we'll do next. So, more or less, just worry about how it looks up at the top seam and on the inside of the leg there. Alright, as mentioned, the skirt is going to wrap around this right leg and cover up that ugly connection. Okay. Doesn't have a very obvious way of connecting it, and you would think you'd see this notch and, oh, I've got to rotate more towards the back, but that's incorrect. You want to align the folds in the cloth from the top part of the skirt down to the bottom, and that's how you're going to get the cleanest look. And then just make sure that your seam looks good all the way around, and realize that this sort of notch thing is actually supposed to be there. Alright, let's do her left arm now. We'll go right there. And there we go. Just make sure that this connection point on the back of the arm matches up with the rest of the connection point on her shoulder. Looks like the wing will glue to it once we get to it, but the seam looks good on the front. So let's put her down and attach our 2 right arm and the magic bit you've got here. Check the render to see how it fits, but you can see that the right arm is missing some fingers. And I think you can just kind of see them right there. I could be wrong. Anyways, I'll figure it out. Okay, we're looking at the magic head-on if we were facing Titania. I was correct that this little sausage down here is her ring finger, and then if you look in the magic, there is another one that should be her pinky. That should be a good enough guide to exactly how it's supposed to sit in the hand, but the hand has a very obvious connection point, and that is matching the connection point right here, which is where we clipped it off of the sprue. So let me go ahead and add the 2 together and show you the finished product. Hit the camera. Alright, that's how it is supposed to look. Great. Now let's attach the arm to her shoulder. All right. That looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and do her wings. It looks like, let's get her oriented correctly. Titania up there. This one is going to be our left wing, and this one will be our right wing. So let's do the left wing first. Okay, left wing is in, looking good. Now let's do the right wing. There is our right wing done. Both wings, fairly solid way they're going to go in. I don't think you can get them rotated incorrectly or anything, but she's all done. Let's put her on a base. Titania's all done. A relatively simple model, hardest part being the magical effect and her right arm by far. Although figuring out how the part of the skirt worked was a little weird. It was definitely figuring out how the fingers worked on the magical effect. Still, probably one of the simplest, if not easiest, models in the box. Oh, also, flight stands. I think I mentioned it a long time ago, maybe in my introductory video, but to make them work, you just shave them with your knife, put an angle on it, and then find a spot on the model that you want to put it, and then just sort of shape it to that angle like I've done here. This was just a quick and dirty one because I will rip her off to paint her, but that's how I do flight stands. Let's move on. Gorar is next. Should be a little bit easier just on account of all the bits being noticeably bigger. We will cut out this piece and attach it to the underside of this one first, and then stack both of them on top of this coil of the snake. Then we'll do the tail, the very tip of the tail, which attaches right there. Then we'll do the head. We'll glue both halves of the head together. I guess it'd be the hood more than head. And then once both of those two are connected, we'll just jam them onto his face and he'll be done. So let's start with these two bits. Okay, here's the top part of the snake coil. The similar piece we cut out is just going to fall on the floor. And then we're going to pick it up and we're just going to glue it in like this. This is the underside of the snake. I have no idea why we put this detail on here because no one's ever going to see it. But yeah, we're going to glue it like that. Okay, that's now glued. Now we're going to take the large part of the coil and just combine the two like that. Okay, here's our big ball of snake. All done. So, our next chunk of the tail is going to glue right in here, as well as along there. That bit being this one right here. Okay, that one was a little awkward because I tried to close this gap here, which would detach it from this connection point over here, and then I'd shove that back in and it would become detached here. And I found that if you just rotate it clockwise, it's the best way to get both seams looking nice. All right, let's do the tip of the tail, then we'll attach right there. There is the tip of our snake tail. Only one way it can really go in. Next we'll do the neck and hood of our snake, which we'll attach right there. Snake neck. All done. All right. Last two steps. Combine the two halves of the head, there and there, and then we'll jam that on the hood. One half, both halves. Oh. All right, now let's just jam it right on the head, neck, hood thing. Okay, that required a lot of pushing, and I accidentally knocked the head off the body. But the trick here is to not just push on it with your thumbs, because then you bend the fangs like I did, like an idiot. However, as you can see here, I've got a long, thin, sturdy metal piece here. And actually, if you just slip that underneath the fangs, and then you apply pressure on both sides of it, that'll squeeze the head on there real nice. But also make sure it's got plenty of plastic cement so that all that melty goodness will warp so that it can get on there as best as possible. So I'm going to put this on the body and we'll call him good. The Gorar is done. The hardest part for him was jamming the head onto the hood of the snake body. It required way too much force and made me mush the fangs in more than I wanted to. I mean, I didn't want to mush them in anyways, but I kind of messed them up. But the solution I figured out was working real well. So I recommend just prying something stiff in there behind the fangs and then pressing on that. Still don't understand why we have a bit showing the bottom of the egg on the part of the model that no one will ever see, but whatever. Let's move on to the henchman. Okay, Aeslin. Possibly the hardest model in this box, but we can do it. I know where everything goes, which I feel like is a lot of the difficulty here. So let's first do everything attached to this back half of the skirt. So that will be the back leg, this one, plus this root, which will attach to this root right here, this one specifically. And then we will grab her front half and do everything that attaches to the lower part of the skirt as well, which would be the other leg, I think that's this one, yep. And this big root, as well as this forked root. Then we'll go ahead and attach the lower half of the skirt to the rest of the body. And then we'll work our way up. We can do both of the arms, one arm, two arm, plus the skull that attaches to the right arm. Then there's a couple bits that are attached to her chest, it looks like, which would be this bit as well as this bit right here. Then we can attach her hair on her front and then attach this set of roots, whatever, to the back for back or head, not entirely sure which. And then our remainder roots will attach to that one, this one, and this one here. The order might change slightly, but I think it's going to be a general good idea for the order. So we'll cut this out and grab this bit and this one as well for our first two steps. A quick reminder of the bits we cut out. Back of skirt here, leg here, and root here. Our skirt as such, and we see this nice lovely connection point for our leg. Put that in. There's the leg. Now our root is going to connect right here in this notch. You can see that there is a lovely semicircle connection point, which will inform us exactly how the root is supposed to fit in there. You can also see a vague semicircle on this bit. Okay. I might do a little bit of nudging, but that's pretty good. So we can now set this bit aside. Our next few bits, going to cut out the front half and the majority of the body of this piece. Then we will do the leg, this larger root, and this smaller forked root. Okay, front half of the body. We're going to do the leg first. The leg has one very obvious connection tooth, which is going to fit right in this hole here. That tooth being right there. Alright, there's the leg, and it is definitely pointed that way, and not like more forward as you would expect. Check the render, that'll confirm. Alright, the next is this root, sort of three-pointed root. This end right here, should be holding it correctly, is actually going to fit up right under the skirt and next to the leg. And then this other end is going to connect to this root right here. So if I can get just a real quick, something like that. Yeah, you got it. All right, that's what it looks like on the inside. And then from the front, all good. Our last smaller root, the one with the fork in it, is going to attach right here on the end of this last root. Alright. That's good. Now let's go ahead and add the back half of the skirt. Okay, it took a little bit of pressure to really get it in there and make the seams nice. Be careful and try not to actually knock any of your roots you just added out of place. I would suggest at this point to just add her to a base so you don't accidentally rip anything out. Alright? Yeah, that's why she gets the grippers out. She doesn't actually have to walk on them. Alright, now let's go ahead and we'll do her left arm first because that doesn't have any additional things attached to it. So here's where the arm will attach, and the arm specifically is going to be this one right here. Okay, so it also attaches to this root that's coming out of the dress. Back here specifically, right along the wrist. I'm probably going to smush that down just a little bit. No, actually it's pretty good. It was just a shadow. But alright, there's that arm. Let's add the right arm now, which is the slightly longer one. It'll attach there. Specifically, it's not as obvious that it's an arm, because she's holding onto this root. That's it right there. Alright, there's the right arm. Both arms going to be effectively palm up, which is an odd stance to have, but that's how everything fits in correctly. There is an additional skull piece that will attach here, but it's already a pretty small connection point. I don't get to have more bits to snag and rip this arm off, so we will actually do it last. So our next 3 bits are going to attach her hair and then these 2 things on her chest, sort of spiky, whatever. Right, her hair right here. The one on her left will be this bit. I believe the bottom is down here. And then on her right will be this bit. You can also see the sort of jagged, sharp thing that goes on the bit as well, and the bottom is up here. So let's do the hair. Alright, there's the hair. Next is going to be our smaller chest piece. It's going to fit right along this groove. Alright, there we go. Sort of like a nice big open collar, but it holds the boobs. So let's do our next bit, which is going to just be on the opposite, right along this groove. A little easier to put in just because you have extra bit to hold on to, but both of them, some sort of poking device would be very, very useful. Alright, back of the head, our next piece. I think we can jam it on there, but we will see. It's going to be this bit right here. You can see the tooth connection. It's going to fit right on the back of her neck. Okay, I think I've got the general idea where the stuff goes, so yes, we can go ahead and glue it onto the back of her head. One of our bits is going to fit right in this notch right here. You see how the hair sort of creates a cylinder. And we'll do that one because I know exactly where that goes, which is going to be this guy, the slightly smaller stick root thing. And we are more or less looking at it head on, so it should be jammed in kind of like that. But let's get to it. Okay. That's it right there. It just needed something to apply pressure to it. Again, this metal piece worked great. So just squish it in there into that connection point, and it looks just fine. Alright, give me a sec while I try to figure out where this other one goes. I believe it's somewhere around here. Okay, I think I found the right spot. It is not attached to these branches at all, and it is right there. You can possibly see a bit of rough plastic there because I'd glued it in to check to make sure that it fit correctly, but it seems to fit in there fairly nicely, and the best part is that it matches the render. So let's go ahead and add that there. At pretty much the same angle it does have on the instructions though. Okay, that looks like it's supposed to be there. It fits the groove in the hair pretty nice, and it looks just about perfect from the front. So I'll call that good. I might put a correction in later if I find out that it's wrong. I've asked a few friends just to be safe. But let's go ahead and do the skull that's nestled in this branch. This entire part of her branch will actually connect to it. So it's going to be a fairly solid connection point. However, the skull will be upside down. So the branch is going to go right along here in this groove. Alright, there we go. Looks good from the backside, but we are now done with Aeslin. Well, she's already on a base, so let's just review. Aeslin is done. This model can go to heck. Yeah, way too many tiny bits. Not fun. Almost definitely the hardest model in the box. The hardest part being the second to last bit, that one twig that I wasn't entirely sure where it went, but it looks real nice now, and overall it's a very pretty model, so at the very least you have the satisfaction of a gorgeous model after you're all done. A good portion of that difficulty is finding where things go, so I think I removed a lot of that difficulty for you, my lovely listener and watcher. Alright, let's move on to the minions. Alright, our Autumn Knights are already named for us because they used to be unique cards back in 2nd edition. Now they're just Minion 3. So we will do them in the order of the instructions, which would be the tooth here, the claw, and then the thorn. Let's go ahead and look our instructions and then get started on the tooth. Alright, for the tooth, we will grab the body and then do the right and left leg. I think those are the right and left. Whatever's right and left on her. After that, we'll combine 2 halves of the grass skirt. I think possibly this one and this one. And then add that to her waist, followed by this one and this one. Let me double check. Yeah, this one and this one. You can kind of see how their connection points work. Matches up to there. Whereas this one has this nice notch in it, which matches that one. Anyways, combine 2 pieces of one side of the grass skirt, then attach it to her waist, and then combine the other 2 pieces of the grass skirt and attach it to her waist. Then we will do both of her arms, 1 arm and 2 arm, and we'll go ahead and attach them to the sword after that. Then we can do these grass bits that are coming out of her shoulders. I'll figure out which side goes where, and we'll finish off with her head on her neck, her hair on her head, and the scabbard on the back. So let's start with the body and the 2 legs. Here is our torso. Let's do our left leg first. It is the one that doesn't have the big old notch in it. As you can see, the right leg will have a big hole in it. So let's do the left leg. Alright, left leg looks good. Right leg is going to fit in right into that tooth. It won't look terribly great, but it should be covered up by the grass skirt, so it's not going to matter, just like Titania. Alright. Looks decent. Okay, let's work on the skirt now. Let's go ahead and grab our bigger piece first, which will go on the back, so this bit and this bit. Actually, it looks like we can attach the lower part of the skirt right here. So we'll go and do that, and that is going to be this bit. Okay. Not bad. Now let's add the top part of the skirt. Alright. That's good. Now let's see if we can get the lower part of the skirt on the side, which will be this bit, and then cover it up with this one. Okay. It'll glue to the back of the leg. That'd be a good place for you to make sure it sticks. And as long as it's in line with the other part of the bottom skirt, should be good. Now let's do the top part right there. And that should just pop into place. Looks decent. So let's go ahead and do our arms next. Go ahead and start with the left arm here, and then the right arm here. Left arm is going to connect in the shoulder, but also has a tooth to connect right here in this hole in the chest. Okay, cool, like that. Now let's do our right arm. It's going to fit right on that tooth in the shoulder. Alright. Now we can add the sword, which will just attach to her 2 wrists there, and should be touching the ground. Okay, let's go ahead and attach to a base. Alright, as far as the grass flaps and her shoulders, I believe for our left side there is a bit more of a connection point in this side there. So I am relatively certain if we look at her, that it is going to be this one on top. You see the tooth here, this one is going to be her left shoulder, this one is going to be her right. Okay, that looks fine. Now let's do the right side. Okay, right arm is done. Now the head on the neck stump. And now the hair on the head stump. Looks like that round circular thing on the inside needs to be scraped out for me. And there we go. Hair now fits on the head. And lastly, the scabbard on the back. There it is. Alright, she's done. The tooth is done. I'm sorry, the Autumn Night #1 is done. We're gonna call her the tooth. Yeah, difficult part for her was honestly the grass skirt and the grass poking out of her shoulders was just weird, a little awkward, and the wrists attaching to the hands and sword was just a little strange. So we'll say that. Overall, a lot easier than the last model, so I'm not going to complain too much. Now let's move on. Next is the claw. We'll pop out the body and then do the back half of the right leg, then combine the two halves of the left leg and then jam them on. I think we can next do the chest and the chest and the shoulders after that. And then we can do the two halves of the arm, 1, 2, the right arm specifically, and we'll attach that to his arm. Then the left arm, followed by the spear, and finish off with his face. So let's start with the body and the right leg. All right, body. Now add the right leg. Okay. Seam looks good. Now let's grab our two halves of the leg. This is the left leg specifically. Here is the part with the foot. Now let's add the part that doesn't have a foot on it. Voila. Now let's jam it onto the body. Stepping forward with it. Okay. That's pretty good. Now let's do our chest piece and shoulder piece. For chest piece, actually let's do his face first. I think we might regret putting the chest piece on before the face. There, the face went on just fine. Now let's add the chest piece. Yeah, that was probably smart. Okay, chest piece is on. Now let's do the shoulder piece. Okay. Might want to like rip it off and scrape out some of the bits to get those gaps to close in better. They're kind of big, at least for me. But that's really up to you. Now let's work on that right arm, which is going to be this piece and this piece. And this is the bit with the fists. Alright. Got a fist and a forearm. Our connection point is right on the end there. Now we'll just fit on his stump. Very powerful walk, this guy. He's super cool with his wood armor and his tummy out. Alright, our second to last bit, the other arm. I'm just going to jam right in there. That took a lot more wiggling to get that seam to look good, but it looks good now, so just keep at it. I think making sure it matches on the back here and then checking the front is the best way to get the seam right. But anyways, we've got hole where his wrist should be, so let's add his hand and spear. Good, there's a groove for the spear too, so we're all done. Let's put Mr. Claw on a base. The claw is done, and he's got the grippers out as well. Malifaux, I mean, Weird Games, you are an equal opportunity pervert providing us boy toes. Anyways, not sponsored by Weird. I wonder why. That's difficult part for him was honestly the shoulder piece, because I had to do a lot of shaving to get those seams to look decent. You might have the same problem, you might not, who knows. And also, obviously, add the face on before you put the chest piece, please. Okay, let's finish this up. Okay, our last model for the box, the Thorn, and easiest of the three minions, I think. We'll grab the body, do both of the legs, then the chest and the hair. And then we'll go ahead and do the left arm, finish up the whip on the left arm, then the right arm, the right hand, and the rest of the whip on the right hand. Yeah, so let's grab the body. Our first leg, which is the one that's directly beneath the body on the sprue, is the right leg. Alright, I had to do some extra trimming to get the leg to fit in there nicely. I don't know if you will have the same issue with an extra bump on the sprue that I don't think is supposed to be here. Let's do the other leg now, the left one. Okay. Looks like a pretty good seam. So let's add the chest now. Okay, that fit in fine. Let's do her pigtails on the top of her head. Tactical pigtails. There we go. Whoops. Focus camera. Alright, let's review what we have left. So, first we'll do left arm, followed by the rest of the whip. Then the right arm, right hand, and rest of the right whip. Be careful cutting this one out, because it looks like you need most of the bits all the way up to the sprue. Okay, let's put our left arm up inside this connection point right here. Alright, yeah, she's holding out in front of her. So now we can attach our rest of our whip on the end here. Okay. That's what it's supposed to look like. So now let's just try not to knock it out of place. Let's put our right arm now in there. Looks like she's holding this arm behind her. Now let's add the right hand and the start of the whip. Oh, thumb's in the way. That's pretty good. Now let's finish off the rest of the whip. Okay, cool. Now let's put her on a base. The third Autumn Knight is done, and she is already named the Thorn. Probably the easiest model out of the three of them. Fewest bits. Hardest part would be I had to trim down her wrist on her right hand. That was a little weird. And jamming, I guess, the right arm up into where it's supposed to go was maybe the most difficult part. And also just avoiding snapping off the whips. But that's why we did them more or less last. So, not going to complain. Let's look at the whole box. The Titania Core box is done, containing Titania, Gorar, Aeslin, and 3 Autumn Knights. Fairly difficult core box, not the hardest, but I'd put it up there as a solid like 8 or 9 out of 10 difficulty. A large portion of that is Aeslin, but the Autumn Knights also had their small bits, and each model had some sort of difficulty to it. Nothing was just straightforwardly easy. So yeah, an 8.49 out of 10 on the difficulty scale. So I hope this is very, very helpful to y'all. But I think I said all I did on the recaps and when I was building them, so I'm just going to leave it here. I've been your foreman, Douglas Scoundrels, helping you build a better Malifaux. Enjoy your Fae.